What's up? What's happening, everybody? Hey, this is John Kitchens, and this is episode 66 of Expert Mentors Live. Super excited for today's episode. Actually, I get the opportunity to hang out with y'all and kind of talk about nailing the meeting rhythm, answer some questions from the Q&A and chat, so be able to make sure you guys use that if you do have any questions, and let's rock and roll, Honey Badger Nation. So, cool. So I'm super excited about today's episode. Is really a section out of our agent to CEO playbook. You guys have seen a lot of push for our upcoming event next week that we're super excited about. It's actually our newest event that we've never rolled this content out in an event, format. So we're super pumped, super excited to be able to bring that to you guys. Live from Plano, Texas next week. I know we've got quite a few honey badgers that are joining us, and really looking forward to it. We'll actually have a honey badger himself, Mr. Albie Stasic's going to come in and deliver some value and actually help us out from the front of the room to be able to deliver that content. So today's episode is really going to focus on rhythm. It's really going to focus on the meeting rhythm and usually, why, we want to have more meetings and not less, and why that is so important. So let me do a couple things here. I am actually going to share my screen with you guys, and then we're going to dive right in. Cool. Boom, boom. Sweet. So you guys should be able to have that. I want to get it out of the full mode there. All right, cool. So hopefully you guys have that able to see. So meeting rhythm, nailing the rhythm and why more meetings and not less are important. And you're probably like, heck no, I hate meetings. And I'm with you, man. I don't like meetings at all, but they're absolutely critical for us to be able to, really excel in the trajectory of whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. So let me see here. Got that. All right, cool. So if you guys have any, any questions, throw them in the Q&A through the chat, and let's roll. So, couple quotes from Patrick Lencioni. We talk about a race car driver, talks about slowing down in order to go fast. So too many executives have adrenaline addiction and have lost sight of key principles, objectives, core values, and need for communication. This quote hits home hard, I think, for a lot of us at EXP. And I think that too many of us as high drivers, executives, but high drivers, that driving personalities, have that adrenaline addiction. And so we've lost sight of key principles, objectives, core values, and need for communication because, we want to go so fast. And sometimes people aren't just willing to go, willing to slow down. I am actually going to share this in the thank you guys bearing with me. I'm actually going to go live in the Honey Badger group with it, just to crank this out there for everybody. So sharing is boom. So EML 66 nailing. Boom. About to be live in the group. Appreciate you guys hanging in there. All right, all right, all right. Boom, we're live. Cool. So I just love this quote. I mean, I think it applies to a lot of folks, at least the folks that I've had the opportunity to work with. They're trying to get their bearings and figure out how do we navigate the waters and the opportunity with EXP for not only what we have to maintain from a real estate perspective, but we want to recruit, we want to take advantage of agent attraction, and how do we balance the two while we close the gap to where we can pull off of transactions while our revenue share grows over the next 12, 18, 24, 36 months. How do you navigate those waters? And nailing the meeting rhythm and communication is going to be super, super key for you guys. And the key to a successful organization is execution through effective meetings, really making sure we're crystal clear and we're getting the things done that we want to get done. So really the goal of this Expert Mentors episode today is to create some awareness for you and give you a framework to be able to work more on your business than in it and in less time. So we all, we've talked a lot about this, the 168 hours. And, the 168 is the number of hours that we all each have every week. And when you back out sleep and you back out shower, taking care of ourselves, that leaves a little over 100, but for simplicity's sake, let's say 100. And then you have to determine, okay, out of those 100 hours, how much am I going to allocate to work and to the business? And so from a simplicity's sake, let's say it's 50 hours, right? 50 hours on business, 50 hours on life and the other equities of life. But that fluctuates whatever it is for you. But one thing that doesn't fluctuate is the number of critical hours on the highest leverage activities and the things that move the needle for you in your business. And so that number is 70%. That's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for 70% of our allocated working time has to be on the high leveraged activities that move the needle and allows us to get the results that we're after. That's the difference in being busy and the difference in being productive. Productive means we're getting results for what it is that we're wanting to get, okay? If we're not getting the results, then we're not being productive. So we have to understand that. So what we're looking at is a 70% allocation. So in the 50-hour example, so 70% gives us 35 hours, right? So then that leaves you another 15 hours to focus on, the activities. This is where your meeting rhythm falls in. This is where these impact zones, this is the communication rhythm, because those other 35, we're focused on lead generation activities. We're focused on marketing and branding activities. We're focused on, lead conversion activities. We're focused on face-to-face and pitching our offer and converting those those opportunities to clients. And then, we're negotiating deals. If we're still working with buyers, we're showing properties. So that has to fall and encompass in that time frame, and then everything else has to be there. So 15 hours, right? So how can you maximize that? And it's through establishing just a strong rhythm. A couple questions that you've got to get clear, and in this order, okay? This is important. This is in this order is, what's the goal? What is it that you guys are really, really wanting to accomplish for you long-term and also in the short term, right? What is the goal, right? What do you want to accomplish in your business? And this framework, guys, works for any equity of your life, right? If you have a fitness goal, here, this applies, right? It's just a solid framework. So what's the goal? What is it that we're wanting to accomplish? Why is that the goal? Okay. You've got to be able to answer that. You got to answer that clearly. Why is that the goal? The other question then is, when are we wanting to accomplish this goal by? Okay. What's the goal? What's the reason why? When are we wanting to get it done? And then how are we going to do it? Okay. A lot of folks get tripped up because they want to start figuring out how when they're not crystal clear on the goal. And then they're not even crystal clear on the reason why. And the reason that it's important for that is that if you don't know why that is the goal, when it gets tough, because 100% of the time it's going to get tough. And if you don't know why you're doing it, you're going to give up. You're going to quit. You're not going to follow through on it. So you have to be crystal clear. And then you get into, how are we going to take action? How are we going to check in? And how are we going to use this information that we're receiving when we're checking in to help us course correct to keep navigating to get to the goal? That's going to help us know if we need to change our approach. We must know what we are getting, right? We've got to measure that outcome. So what is the rhythm that you guys are using to measure your results? And what is the accountability to the targets and the activities? One of your most important operational responsibilities is designing and implementing the communication framework of your company. Your company has to communicate. And when you're pulsing and moving really fast, you've got to communicate even more. When things are tough and things are challenging, you've got to communicate even more. Opportunity working through some situations, and it really made me think back to when it was the hardest. And, I was really thinking about it and operating the business from commission closing to commission closing and balancing who you're going to pay, when you're going to pay them based upon that, right? That's a real situation that we've all dealt with. And if you haven't dealt with it, you're going to deal with it. So you better, understand, be open to how you navigate those waters. And it really made me think of how we pulled through those situations every time. And I always came back to high level of communication daily, hourly, like looking at and really paying attention to the details at a super high level and communicating them on all fronts has got us through every situation every time. And so that's what I cannot stress that enough to you guys, is that you've got to layer in, you've got to design. And that's the cool word here, right? You get to design it because it's a creative world. You get to design how you're going to communicate within the framework of your people and your team. The framework includes organizational design, meetings, processes, email, one-on-one meetings with your team. A well-designed communication framework, if it is missing, information and ideas stagnate, and your company will degenerate into a bad place to work. Absolutely. It is quite possible to design a great communication framework because it's a creative world, and it is up to you to be able to design that at the highest of levels. So here's our meeting system framework that we followed, over the course of our careers with our businesses. And, one is the annual strategic plan. It's super critical to separate that time, get into a creative space to where you can really kind of think where, take a hard look at the facts and really think about where it is that you want to go. And then, how you're going to cover that gap, right? What is it that we're going to do? Why do we want to do that? And when are we going to get it done by? And then how? What are all the ways? Quarterly strategic allows you to pulse on those 90-day cycles. A monthly deep dive. I think that's a really powerful time to look into, and we'll go into detail with all of these here in a second. Weekly impact zone meetings, daily huddles, found fundamental for you and your organization. Daily huddle. It's funny. I've heard over the years that, man, yeah, I see and I talk to my people all the time. Yeah, but is it intentional? And usually the answer is no, it's not. Right? You may pass, talk to everybody in passing every day, but you're not sitting down into a structured regimen specific on what it is that we're looking to accomplish and creating that high level of commitment and accountability. Weekly one-on-ones, and then the end of the day reports, which is super, super critical for anybody that has team members, being able to, hold. I mean, I can't wait to get into that with you guys. It's just paramount that you guys have those set up. So the challenge is, to have a great meeting and more well-run meetings, right? That was kind of the whole objective of sharing this content with you guys today. Meetings can help you create clarity and alignment, reinforce clarity and alignment, and over-communicate clarity and alignment. Clarity is direction, and alignment is focus. So think about that. Direction is your vision. It's your strategy. It's the goals. It's what we're doing. It's understanding the business model. It's the direction. It's the clarity. And then alignment is where you're focused to the vision, right? Where we're focused to it. That's focusing on our activities. What are we doing more of? What are we doing less of? What are we going to stop doing? Okay. So that's what this rhythm in this space, this meeting, this time together allows us to do. Create, reinforce, and then over communicate. So before we put any meetings together, this is really, really critical. Calculate the price of the meeting. Calculate the price of the meeting. So how do you do that? Well, what is your time worth? Whoever you're bringing into the meeting, what is their time worth? If you're throwing in your whole administrative staff, what does that cost you per hour? So you got to calculate the price of that meeting. Second is you've got to decide who is essential to the meeting. Only invite who has to be in there. Okay? Only invite who has to be in there. You can have a guest appearance list, meaning you need somebody to get in, share with the information, and then get out. They don't need to spend the whole time. So if you've got a 2 or 3 hours jam session on marketing and sales, you maybe only need somebody in there to give a 5-minute update. They don't need to sit in there that whole time. Let them get in, let them get out. That's a real big get. Most people think, well, I just need you to be a part of it. Well, yeah, they only need to be a part of it for just a short period of time. Let them share the information that's important for everybody, and then let them get out. So that's key. Have a well thought out agenda. Who needs to prepare this is think about that, right? Who needs to prepare it? Who needs to prepare what? And if we want to get anything out, circulated before the meeting. We also want to be crystal clear. What is the goal of the meeting? What is the intent of the meeting? It's one of the most powerful little phrases and questions that you can use when you meet with anybody at any given time. Okay. That's a rider downer that you really want to put into your playbook, put into your little toolbox to be able to use anytime you meet with somebody, is really get clear on the intent of the meeting for today. And it could be a meeting with a recruit. It could be a meeting with a new hire. It could be a meeting with an affiliate. It could be whatever. When you're sitting down, you want to state the intent of that meeting because it gets everybody on the same page. And if you don't take that time to get clear when you're sitting down with somebody, for example, if you and I were sitting down and we didn't do that, I have in the story in my mind telling me why we're meeting. And I can promise you it's not the same story going on in your mind why we're meeting. So it's super, super critical that you establish that with everything that you do. You want to determine a facilitator, and you want to determine a scribe. A facilitator is who's going to facilitate the meeting. And then you've got to have a scribe who is capturing the notes and the key takeaways and the to-dos from that agenda. And ideally, you don't want to have it to be the same person. It's really hard to facilitate and also scribe because you go from creative to tactical and your brain switching back and forth, and it doesn't do a good job at that. So you want to try to identify somebody who's going to capture notes and somebody who's going to facilitate the agenda in the meeting. Make sure you start on time. Make sure you end on time. This is super, super important to really adhere to that. And only one person has to own each meeting. You can have different responsibilities, but at the end of the day, one person is ultimately responsible for that meeting agenda, whatever the case is. Okay. So those are some critical key components to really nailing a very high level communication, a very high level meeting. Meeting guidelines. Okay, this is another little language that should help you, helps your team, and helps a lot of high D drivers that you may have within your organization. Use guidelines, not rules. Rules are meant to be broken, right? And us, D drivers, we look at a rule, we're like, how in the hell can I break that rule? But we got guidelines. It's like, oh, okay, well, I can play within those guidelines. So it's just a slight distinction, but a powerful one. So meeting guidelines. When setting a meeting, follow these key points. Include a link to the agenda in the meeting invite. Okay. We create all of our agendas are inside of Google Docs. So we'll share the Google Doc with everybody, and we'll include the meeting in the agenda inside of the meeting invite inside of Google Calendar. Include the goal of the meeting in the agenda and in the calendar invite. What is the intent of this meeting? So when you send the calendar invite out, go ahead and put what the intent is, right? Say, hey, our intent is to get clear on, the lead count, lead flow, for XYZ organization today, right? So whatever it is, the more specific that you can be, the better, but just really get crystal clear on what the intent is. Include a reminder notification for go to 10 minutes prior to the meeting. And before adding someone who has something in their calendar, verify that it can be moved. I've talked a little bit about that in, any of our productivity, about how to proactively manage your calendar. There's non-negotiables, like in mine are red. And they can't be moved, right? They're just non-negotiables. So just be crystal clear that if you're adding something to somebody's calendar, verify that it can be moved before you schedule the agenda. If you set the meeting, guys, it's your responsibility to facilitate it, unless you communicate differently to somebody else. That's just the trigger. If you set this meeting up, I'll give you an example. So contract to close. So in our impact zone meeting for contract to close, whoever is responsible in handling contract to close, they're the facilitator, right? It's their responsibility to set the agenda and facilitate that meeting. And, you may have to be the one taking notes, right? You may be scribing as you're going through there. So, or vice versa, right? They set up the agenda, you get to facilitate it, they scribe, but you have to get clear on it. Default is whoever sets the meeting, is their responsibility to facilitate. You want to verify that the right people have been included to the invite. You want to make sure that, this is your meeting. You want to arrive early, prepared for the meeting with the agenda ready. You start the meeting on time, with or without all the people in the room, no matter what. If it's the meeting's for noon, it's noon, you go. You can create some guidelines that, hey, after 5 minutes, you're not allowed into the meeting. Whatever guidelines, but you want to establish that on time, with or without the people in the room. Manage side issues outside of the room. So you don't want to bring extra baggage into that particular meeting that has a set objective that we're crystal clear on. You don't want to derail that meeting with another issue, right? It needs to be handled outside of the room. It can wait. There's nothing in this business that can't wait 30, 45, 60 minutes. So that side issue can be handled right after the meeting. Manage the conversation. Facilitator, if we get off track and say, hey, I think we're getting a little off track, off the agenda here. Hey, let's park that. We'll come back around to that, if we have time later. If not, we'll schedule a follow-up time to handle that issue. So you just got to manage the conversation. Enforce the clock. So pay attention to it. So with your agenda, if you're starting to get a little off pace, announce it. Say, hey guys, we're starting to get a little off pace. We're a little derailed. Hey, we need to pick things up here. Let's keep moving. So enforce the clock. Even say, hey guys, we got 15, 20 minutes left. Looks like we got about 30 minutes on the agenda. We need to move pretty quick because we need to end on time. So enforce the clock. Your meeting should be no longer than 60 minutes without at least a 10-minute break, because after that 60-minute mark, you lose people. You lose them mentally. They can't stay, they won't be able to stay plugged in full force. So establish a little break. If you're going to go if you have a, 2-hour or a half day, deep dive session with something, schedule those breaks in there. Be aware of those breaks. Really shoot to plan on ending your meetings 5 to 10 minutes early. There's no reason. If you've got 60 minutes in the calendar, but you only need, 47, don't waste the other 13. Just call it, right? We're good. Cool. We're clear. Who's doing what by when? Boom, we're out. Go. See ya. Right? Don't just let that drag on. So really plan on trying to end it early. Like I said, interrupt if we're off pace. Always include a meeting recap of what has been assigned in deadlines. Who's doing what by when? And you'll see that in the bottom of your agendas, that you want to incorporate that. Always, always, always. You've got to come out of there, because one of the worst things, and you guys have all done this, is that you've walked out of a meeting and you haven't got clear on who's doing what by when coming out of there. And a lot of people will just nod and they'll be like, yeah, got it. But we don't commit, right? We don't commit to what's going to happen coming out of there. And you have to talk about it. You got to talk through clear. You've got to get clear on that agreement coming out of there, right? That's what an agreement is. An agreement is who's doing what by when, okay? And then how are we going to know we got it done, how it got done, right? We want to create that. So always include that coming out of there, so everybody's crystal clear on what the next steps are. And then decide what will be communicated, what will be cascaded down to the rest of your team. So if you've got a meeting of 2 or 3 people in there, but you've got a team of 10, how are we going to let the other 7 or 8 people know what needs to be communicated, right? Decide what will be cascaded coming down. And you just want to know, especially, if you guys are tied up into a meeting room inside of the office all day, people are gonna be like, what the heck are they doing in there? So you want to be able to communicate something to them when you come out of those sessions. It's important. So let's dive into the meeting framework. So here's the annual strategic planning work through strategic planning initiatives. Talking budget, talking mission and vision and focus, and leadership training. We've shared before, talked about our straight line strategic plan. We really embraced and followed Vern Harnish's 1-page strategic plan through mastering the Rockefeller habits and scaling up. In fact, our first taste of that, Kinder and I, we went through it in 2010 for the first time, and it was quite an experience. You would laugh if you had. I've got to find a copy of that, but it's quite laughable. It's terrible, but it was the best that we could do at the time. And I can tell you, the second one was night and day better. The third better. Fourth, it just gets better. You get into a better rhythm every time that you go through and you do this process. Where we've gravitated over the last 2 years is over to Gino Wickman's Vision Traction Organizer. I can't stress it enough, guys. Get a copy of Traction. It's one of the it's one of the handful of books that are within reach, for my desk. It's a book that I reference at least, if not every day, at least 3 or 4 times a week. It's a reference manual. It is one of those books that you take with you into every type of meeting, training, especially on strategy sessions. It's a great framework, and there's 8 questions that you've got to answer, and that book will walk you through and give you examples of all 8 of those questions, so you can really nail your VTO, your strategic plan, your roadmap of what it is to keep you on track of what it is that we're wanting to accomplish. And usually the annual strategic planning, it's 2 to 3 days. Honestly, I've been a part of 5 days, 4 days. It can get a little excessive, but for sure 2 days minimum to go through annual. There's just a lot to uncover and unpack for you guys to think about. And they are offsite. That's super critical. You got to get out of the office. You've got to get out of the day-to-day grind. You got to get into a environment that allows you to be creative. So definitely check into that. So quarterly strategic planning. So this is the 90-day cycles. So we do annual, and when we do annual, we get clear on that next quarter. It's usually, obviously, most of the time we do it at the end of the year. I would love to do it before the 4th quarter, but usually we fall in and we do it at the end of the year. So we also get clear on Q1. And then we come back around Q2, Q3, and then Q4. And it's a quarterly strategic plan, and we review, we adjust, we add, subtract, gives us the space to have some really great conversations. We get to go over employee, our team's performance, come up with any key issues that we're wrestling with. How are we going to resolve them, right? What are some solutions to some of the constraints that we've got in the business? And then we identify 1 to 3 top priorities for the quarter. I personally love 1. When we get to 2, I'm like, okay. But 3, I'm like, this is going to be interesting. Beyond 3, I'm like, we ain't getting nothing done. And it's just proven quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. If we have more than 3 priorities, we don't get anything done. So less is more, and you really want to really hold to that. And especially when you're deep into production, right? You're spending 35, you're spending 70% of your working time on production activities. So that leaves you that little bit of space to really run organization, your meeting rhythm, but you also have to have a little time to get work done. And so you've got to be careful. And that's why I say, especially early on when it's just maybe you and a key assistant, maybe you've got a buyer's agent or two, maybe you've got that ISA person in place, but less is more. Less is more. And until you've got some really solid resources around you to be able to execute, you really want to keep that in mind. We want to talk about any type of themes, incentives for the teams, competitions, cool stuff, engagement, and then obviously we're absolutely reviewing the financials. I mean, that's early on in this whole process because your top priorities are going to be in a direct reflection on the financial health of the organization. Where the financial health of the organization is at will determine what those key priorities are. If we're running on fumes, then some of our top priorities are going to be really, short-term things to where we can make the cash register ring. Now, if we're in a strong, healthy financial situation, we might take on some more in-depth projects that we might be bringing on, implementing new marketing, branding initiatives, strategies, implementing a new technology, some stuff like that, right? So it really is going to determine where the health of the organization is at. It's a rhythm every quarter. It aligns with our annual strategic plan. And so whatever format you're following, like I said, recommend the VTO at this point, but whatever you're using, it stays in alignment. And these are 1 or 2 days offsite. You're getting offsite. You're still needing to be creative. One day honestly, you could knock this out in one full, uninterrupted, clear day. If you've got the agenda dialed in and, you're really did all of the prep work leading into that. So it's really, really key. Monthly strategic. This is all about growth. It's review progress on priorities, what's working, what's not, what processes need to improve and how, review kind of where we're at financially, make any adjustments we need to make, any specific trainings we need to make, just really reserved for large issues that require more time to assess and determine solutions. These are not tactical. We're not getting things done. We're just kind of a review, step back for a second, kind of get away out of, we're in the forest. We want to kind of step back and kind of see where things are at and then determine any of the adjustments and things that we need to make. A lot of it is definitely marketing and sales related, and they're half days. You can do it in the office on site, but it's just absolutely critical that you've established this. The weekly impact zones. These are fundamental for you staying in connection with really what's going on within your organization. You've got, you're reviewing all of your numbers and your targets for each area. You're looking at wins, losses, things that we need to do, what's going on with our clients, our team, what's going on with their feedback, what assistance is needed. Any important issues come up, schedule offline meetings. They allow you to get more done, working on your business. And here's the framework for a really strong impact zone meeting. It's super powerful to follow this agenda right here. So with any of our meetings, we always kick them off with positive focus. Every meeting we do. Hey, what's positive focus? And positive focus is really to focus in and share something that is really going well in the business that you're proud of, that you want to communicate to the rest of the group, or what is even something positive going on in your personal life, and you just want to share that. And it's just really, really key because when we step into these meetings, we've got a lot of stuff going on and everybody's got something different going on in their head. And it just allows everybody so there's two powerful things here. One, it allows everybody to, whatever's been going on outside of this room when we get in together, it allows us to come back in and really in a positive light, refocus in on, what's good. The other thing is that if you've got multiple people in the room, there's a tendency that some people won't even speak. So what this does, this allows them to speak, use their voice. If not, they may try to be a fly on the wall. So this just gets them engaged in the conversation. We want to state the intent of the meeting. We want to talk about through any key metrics, KPIs, and all of this, guys, should be done with this. All of this, all the way up to the KPI review, could be done in the first 10 minutes. If you have the easy access availability, the meeting is prepared. It should take you can get through positive focus, intent, KPIs in the first 10 minutes. Then this is a critical step. You want to review the previous meeting's notes and tasks. Remember, at the end of every meeting, who's doing what by when? We want to review it and see where things are at, okay? We then want to dive into the agenda. What are the new topics? Here's the structure that will help you get more done during the week. And it'll stop alleviating the gotta minutes, okay? And I'm going to bring this up in a minute on the daily huddles when I break that down, and I'm going to share it again when I say the end of the days reports. If people are coming to you with things that are not urgent, but are kind of like, hey, we need to take a look at this as it relates to listings. Hey, we need to take a look at this as it relates to closings. Hey, we need to take a look at this as it relates to kind of the training and what our process is. Hey, we need to take a look at this kind of on lead flow. Your default response should be, you know what, that's fantastic. Add it to the agenda for listing focus. Hey, that's a great idea. Add that to the closing agenda for our transaction coordination agenda for closings. Hey, we need to review this budget item. Hey, I need you to look at this expense. Hey, I need you to look at that. You know what? That's fantastic. It's not urgent. I need you to take a look at, just add it to the financial agenda, and we'll review it. So instead of all of these one-off things that are just bombarding you all over the place, you have a place where ideas and topics and questions that need to be answered can live. Because this is we're getting things done, right? This is the impact zone meetings. We're getting things done. We're knocking stuff out as it relates to a specific area in our business. And then we want to identify any choke points. Now, if we've got time, we can work through some of those choke points. If not, at least we've identified it. And if we need to schedule something outside of it to work on it, then we can do that. Okay. So identify the choke points and then recap. The last 10 minutes of the meeting, recap and task assignment. Who's doing what by when? Crystal clear. There is nobody that walks out of those meetings that should not know exactly what has to be done. Who's doing what by when. So here's some possible impact zone topics. Priorities. So like your quarterly priorities. You can get into a weekly rhythm with those. I know we talked about, that monthly deep dive on the priorities. For us, we liked a Monday recap review, just kind of help us lay the land out of, who's doing what by when, where we're at with, what we've determined priority wise, so we can help us really set the calendar for the week. Marketing and branding, leads and conversion, listings, operations, and raving fans. So operations could be your systems, your processes, what's going on, just kind of operating with the business, as well as raving fans is going to be your past client follow-ups, right? What's the communication? What events do we got going on? What are we communicating? Closings and financial. I would definitely, operations, we could incorporate, you can drop in, hiring, and recruiting efforts. Recruiting is just a function of marketing. So that can live in the marketing and branding impact zone, or we could touch on it again in operations and our past clients. So you can find a place for that to live. And then closings and financials. And that's kind of the lay for the week, if you look at it, right? Kicking those things off that are the most important, and then just recapping at the end of the week with closings and financial, because our closings and our financials are really just the scorecard of the results. So we kick things off at the beginning of the week, working on things that are within our control, things that are going to drive the business forward. Priorities, marketing, and branding are the most important things in your business. That's why we kick them off at the beginning of the week and then end up there. And they're 45 minutes to an hour on site. You can get through pretty dang quick. I mean, our closings and financial meetings used to be absurd, a couple hours long, but can get through. I still sit in with Stace and Reedy in the Lawton office, and Darlene, and we get through closings and financial meeting in about 30 minutes now. And we spend about 15 minutes BSing. So we got it really dialed in to where you see everything at a high level and you're able to move through really, really quick, make fast decisions, and keep rolling. So, like I said, it takes a little time, but if you stay consistent with it, you're going to get better with it, and the results are going to be there. All right. Daily huddle. These are absolutely fundamental in your business. They're standing, and we always start with good news, positive focus, right? I already talked about that. These are daily 15 minutes max, and ideally 10 to 15 minutes. If you are pulsing, like if you're in rhythm and a lot of things going on, then you want to do them daily. If you're pretty stable and not much going on, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday rhythm is okay. Okay. So here's the daily huddle. Positive focus, great news. What key metric are we paying attention to, right? So if we're really focused on listings this quarter or this month, then we're going to be talking about listings. If we're really focused on new appointments, we're going to be talking about appointments. If we're focused on, hey, we're not getting enough conversations, then we're going to focus on conversations. Whatever it is that you want to focus on or that you must focus on in your business is what's going to be reported in the key metric. Then we share, hey, what's in the calendar for the day? What's the one thing as it relates to moving the company forward that you're focused on in your business? We want to identify any issues or choke points. We are not going to problem solve. We are just identifying issues or choke points. And this is where a lot of team leads, this is where a lot of leaders, this is where they fail miserably with the daily huddle, is that they want to try and problem solve. We do not problem solve in the daily huddle. It is meant to get everybody refocused, realigned, communicate what is going on. Now, what we reveal, we can heal. But if somebody says, hey, I got an issue, I got a choke point, I'm stuck, get it out, share it. But then at that point, we're going to say, you know what, that's fantastic. And I've got 10 minutes after this daily huddle, after this meeting, let's get together and talk about it. Or, hey, it's an issue with closing. Hey, closing coordinator, can you get with this person right after this and solve that? And so you get to keep everybody on point with this, but you're not going to solve the problems during this time. You have to get that. And then you want to identify what's being done and what needs to be communicated to everybody on the call. So just remember, your daily huddles are meant to inform, not a time to problem solve. Someone has to own each and every meeting. Your daily huddle is no different. And usually in the beginning, it's you, the leader. You want to own these, right? Start on time. You're there, get there, kick everybody off, positive focus. You bring the energy. Hey, we get clear kind of key metric, our number. Hey, what's the one thing that we're focused on today? Anybody got any issues or choke points? And this is what I was talking about, that if somebody has a question or an issue or whatever, it's like, hey, just bring that up in the daily huddle in the morning. Just share that. So this is about creating the communication rhythm in your organization. This is how you guys are able to communicate at such a dang high level. Okay. So issues, choke points, what's being done. Weekly one-on-ones. So if as a leader, and especially early on when you don't have very many people, 7 to 10, you still should be able to do your one-on-ones at a super, super high level. Okay. You get beyond that, it's a different structure. There's more so, it's not every week. You're meeting more with your key people. There's some commitment, structure, a little bit different rhythm. But in the beginning for most, it's super small. And here is the goal of a great one-on-one. You want to check all 3 of these boxes, okay, to accomplish a great one-on-one. They get stagnant because we're not checking the box in all 3 of these, okay? And so they never get stagnant if you follow this, okay? We want to get increased understanding and buy-in to the overall objective, to your organization, to your vision, to the core values, to the purpose, to the mission we're on, and what it is, the immediate goals that this organization, your team, your business, your company is trying to accomplish. First box. Second box is we want to make sure that we're achieving the desired outcome for this individual in the situation, the role that they're in at the given time. Are we achieving the desired outcome that we're after? Okay. And then, and 3 is, are we improving the relationship? Are you strengthening the bond? I mean, are you communicating what's going on in their life? Issues they're dealing with. What are they doing to overcome it? Anything. I mean, give a F about your people. The glue to leadership, guys, is care. Your people have to know that you care about them, right? I mean, can you state their spouse and their kids' names? Do you know that? Do you at least have a mechanism to know their birthdays? So what are you doing to improve the relationship? Increase understanding and buy-in, achieve the desired outcome, improve the relationship. You got to check all 3 boxes every time you've got a one-on-one with your team. So here's leadership, guys. The dictionary definition: leadership is both a research area and a practical skill regarding the ability of an individual or organization to lead or guide other individuals, teams, or entire organizations. So a couple things that I want you to understand. It's a skill. So anything that's a skill can be developed and improved. All right. And it's the ability to lead, or the ability to influence someone else. Okay. Lead, influence, guide other individuals, teams, or entire organizations. In your job, a function of that as a leader, if you hire anybody, you're in a leadership role. If you're a parent, you're in a leadership role. And the function of leadership, the number one responsibility of a leader is to actualize a clear and shared vision for the company and to secure commitment to and vigorous pursuit of that vision, right? So this is really tying back to that first checkbox of the one-on-one. And it's just a universal requirement of leadership that no matter what your style, you must perform this. Okay. We all have different styles, but you've got to perform this at the highest and the highest of levels. And your job really is to get results, right? Are we getting the desired outcome? Okay. Are we checking that second box, right? When we're meeting with our people, are we helping them get the results that we're after? Are they being productive? Is the organization being productive? Is the organization growing? And that third checkbox, a good leader takes the time to know his or her team on a personal level, but a great leader goes one step further and learns about each other's person's values, how they build trust, and what is core to their motivation and drive. That's what makes a great leader. And that really follows all 3 of those check boxes that makes a great one-on-one. You want to spend 80% of your one-on-one time listening and just asking questions, okay? And one of the biggest mistakes from leadership that I've seen when people leading teams and having their teams is that, they may ask questions, but they don't take the time to really listen and hear what their people are saying. If you're going to ask your team how they're doing, you better take the time to really listen, or just say hi. Hey, great to see you. Look forward to connecting with you later. So spend your time, man, asking. It's your question to statement ratio, and in your one-on-ones and really leading your team, are you asking more questions than making statements? Okay. End of the day report. All right. So our end of the day report. So this is the 3 things. The EOD. If you've got anybody on your team, you need to set this up, especially if you're elbows deep in production. Man, this is super critical for you. At the end of every day, have your team send you this report. It can be in the format of an email. or set it up in a Google form to automatically set it up and send it to you. Simplest of forms, guys, email. Okay. And here's the thing. It should take your team no more than 5 minutes to fill this out. If it takes more than 5 minutes, then they're doing it wrong. Three things. What did you get done today? Okay. This is a powerful question for them because they get to think through, what did I really accomplish? Did I accomplish what I said I was going to accomplish in the morning huddle? The one big thing that I had to get done. Did I get it done? So it's a great autopsy for the individual that's filling this out to send to you, and for you to see in are they doing things within their roles that are helping you, that they're supposed to be doing within their roles and responsibilities? Are they doing their tasks? Are they doing their functions? Are they doing their roles? That's what you get to see, keep an eye on. Because a lot of, in production, you're not in the office all the time. And a lot of us, are working virtually. So, what's really going on? The second question is, what challenges did you encounter? What problems, choke points did you encounter? Okay. And this is an opportunity. Hey, this is where I got stuck. Hey, this is the issue that came up. This is the issue that arose. And then what questions do you have for me? And so what this does is this solves the multiple emails and the gotta minutes and the interruptions. But you as the leader have to have the discipline to direct them to add things to the end of the day or to those weekly impact zone meetings. Okay. If you guys take anything away from today's call and you have a team and you don't have this set up, set this up. It's going to change your life, your communication, your thinking for your team and yourself. So when they start sending you multiple emails, say, hey, get that into the end of the day. Add this to your end of the day. Add this to your end of the day. Say, hey, John, you got a minute? No, I don't. Put it in the end of the day. Great. I'll send it over to you. Perfect. Okay. So you just have to have the discipline to be able to guide them where they need to add the things either to the end of the day report or add that into the weekly impact zone meeting. It's a game changer. End of the day report. And some guy said this and says it all the time. The key is to get these meetings in the calendar. If it doesn't make the calendar, it doesn't happen. So I can't stress that enough, guys. If it doesn't make the calendar, it doesn't happen, period. So a couple recommended readings that I would throw out to you guys. Definitely get Gino's book, Traction, if you're going to really follow the VTO process, and study Patrick Lencioni if you're really serious about growing your business. The Advantage is a must read. It sat on our bookshelves for a year. Clayton Mask shared the book with us, and it sat on our bookshelves. And every time we would meet with him in the masterminds, he would say, hey, did you read The Advantage yet? Hey, that's in The Advantage. Did you read The Advantage yet? I'm like, no. We finally read it. We're like, got it. It's a game-changing book for you. Another interesting book, man, is Aaron Dignan's book, Brave New Work. And you can listen to, he did a podcast with Gary Vee. You can jump into Gary Vee's podcast and just search Brave New Work or search Aaron Dignan and listen to the podcast. It's fascinating. The book's fascinating. And it's just the structure of how creating the culture and the environment and the workflow and the communication is kind of moving in that direction. It's really, really powerful to get your head around if you're serious about growing any type of organization. Death by Meetings, Patrick Lencioni again. He talks a little bit about it in The Advantage, but it goes way deep in Death by Meetings, and then Traction, but scaling up with Vern Harnish as well. So, that's it. That's the flow for really nailing your meeting structure, your meeting rhythm. It's so powerful when you get it set up and you get into that rhythm. You're getting so much more done. Your people is communicating at the highest of levels, and it just allows you to stay more focused, not wondering what's going on. And give me an example, like a lot, for me, I was always like, man, where are we at? What's going on financially? Whatever, where are the numbers at? And I would early on, right, I would be diving in and looking at the numbers all day, every day or whatever. But then I got to a point and I was like, we have a financial meeting on Friday. Man, I'll get up to date. I'll know exactly where we're at that point. what I'm looking at right now is not going to make a difference between now and Friday. So I'll get up to date there. And you start to have this calmness and this peace of mind. And you're like, oh, I'll get up to date then. I'll know what's going on. Hey, where are we at with all of our closings? Okay, well, shoot, I'll wait. I'll get, Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, whenever we have that set. Hey, I'll get up to date. I'll see where everything's at. Listings, right? Where are we at with all these listings? Instead of being sporadic all over the place, I've got a set time in the calendar to where I know exactly I'm going to find out the information I need to make the best decisions moving forward, day in and day out. Any immediate fires, right? That's why the daily huddles and the end of the day report. Man, you're not letting 24 hours go by without you knowing exactly what's going on. It's super, super powerful. And it'll like this will relieve off of your shoulders when you get this rhythm set up to where you're creating this way to communicate. Man, hopefully you guys found that extremely, extremely helpful. Like I said, this is the rhythm that we followed for years. This is a playbook. This is right out of the Agent to CEO Live playbook. And, look forward to seeing, a lot of you here with us in Plano next week. If you're on the fence about coming, man, do it. It'll be one of the best decisions that you've made to be able to set up the framework to really put the foundation in place for your business. If you've got any other questions about this, man, hit me up. This is what this is the framework. This is what we've been doing and helping, agents like yourself over the last 15 years get implemented into their business. So if you got any questions, reach out. Appreciate you guys and really look forward to seeing you on the next episode.